Hello YouTube. So here is my assault rifles continue. We're going to be going on part 2. The guns covered today will be the M4A1, M4A1 CCO, M4A1 Camo SD, M4A1 Holo M203, M4A3 CCO, M16A2, M16A2 M203, and the M16A4 ACOG. Now in my last video, everyone wanted me to bring back personal ratings, what my opinions are. I will do that this video. It's going to make it a little bit lengthier, but hopefully you'll get more out of it if you watch it now. Alright, so let's hop into it. First up, we have a classic M16A2 30 round magazine, fires a 5.56 by 45 millimeter, also known as NATO round. It has 2 fire modes, semi and burst. It takes 2 shots to the body and 1 to the head to kill a zombie. For players, I'm going to say anywhere from 2 to 4 shots in the torso to kill the player. So let's hop straight into the footage here. So for this test, I can only switch to burst. So without further ado, here's the burst fire. The results are I get 27 hits out of 30, and I hit 90% of the time. Much of that is had to do with the fact that it's bursting, which makes it difficult to stay on target, especially because of the muscle dust. So using M16 sights, I'm pretty quick to get back on target when firing at 150 meters. I missed 1 out of the 10 shots. So on to where the M16 excels: accuracy. The low recoil and the accuracy on this weapon are exceptional. You can't go wrong using an M16A2. The burst fire does the job up close. At 150 meters, you're also looking for semi-automatic fire. You know, this gun is all around balanced while having extreme accuracy. Now, I hit 4 out of the 5 targets. My 1 miss was my own human error. This gun is consistent. If you put your guns on target, it's gonna hit each time. Anyways, on to the gun rating, 7 out of 10. The pros of this weapon: the accuracy, low recoil, and high effective range. You can shoot anything all the way out to 400 meters. Cons: not full auto, and the sights are very limited for CQB. For those that don't know, CQB is close quarter combat. So when you're in a little room and you're about to come to the next room, there's a guy in there, it's really hard to use the sights on the M16. That's why you probably hip fire it. Alright, so we'll move on to a different version of the M16A2. It's the M16A2 M203. This has an M203 launcher attached to it, along with a flip sight that's always up when aiming on the sights. It uses the same rounds, all that, same power, everything's the same. So let's get straight into the testing. So here's the footage of our max fire rate of the weapon. It's just like the M16A2. Difference is it has different sights. Now, I don't know if it's luck or whatever it may be, but I hit 100% of the targets, 30 out of 30. So one of the biggest things you need to notice here is that, look where I'm aiming, people. I am not aiming with a little iron sight. I'm having to aim a little bit above the 2 notches of the M203 flip sight. I don't know why that is. It is what it is though. And I end up hitting 9 targets out of 10. So if we jump into the accuracy test, I want to point out that I'm confused. I don't know where to aim with this weapon. So I just keep trying until I start getting hits on target. Finally, I start hitting the target. I figure out where to aim, and from there, M16A2's consistency does shine. Now, I ignored the first 2 shots because I didn't know where to aim for them. I'm starting to count the shots after I started hitting, because now I figured out where to aim. And I hit 5 out of the 5 targets once I figured out where to aim. So some of you might be wondering, Mr. Aceman, there's an M203 in that thing. What's the reward with that? Well, kinda, it's a pain in the butt. M203 is good, very effective, I like it, but when actually trying to aim consistently with it, it's not really possible to do that unless you use, you know, some old weird standard way. Because see, on the flip side, there's 100 and there's 200, but those don't work. You have to make up your own values by trial and error to figure out how that thing works. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that using M203 sights is a trial and error basis for the most part. There's a guide somewhere on YouTube already that has figured out the values for those each little mark, but you don't want to be using that really. because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to remember those values. Those are weird values. There's like one of the notches 135, the other one's like 100 meters. I don't know which one's which anymore. Let's go ahead and jump into the gun range here. I give it a 5 out of 10. The reason for that is pros: consistent accuracy, low recoil, high effective range, and it has an M203 attached to it. Now I want to go into the consistent accuracy pro. Accuracy is one of the best things this thing has going for it. So when you figure out where to aim on it, it's good. But one of the biggest drawbacks is the incorrect iron sights. So you have to aim above the iron sights by a good, half an inch. And then you have the incorrect M203 sights, which make aiming on the M203 nearly impossible in a guessing game. Along with that, it's more limited CQB sight because of that damn flip sight. And just like the other one, not full auto. Let's move on to bigger and better things. Now we have the M16A4 ACOG. This thing's just like the M16A2. Has same power and all that. Difference is, this bad boy has an ACOG on it. And that means your range can go a lot further now. The ACOG is a 4 times magnification. It has nice little little lines to indicate different ranges, and I'll show you that in a bit here. Now when using the M16A4 ACOG, you probably don't want to aim down the ACOG to shoot CQB, but I do it here just for you. As I mentioned, you probably want to hip fire this thing at CQB, but I hit 29 out of the 30 targets, and I get a 96% hit chance. Now as you can imagine, using this ACOG for the 150 meters range makes it very easy to hit your 150 meter target. So let's focus more on the ACOG side here. I'm going to freeze frame it. There we go. Now I want to take point that each line here is 100 meters. The first line right in the dead center is 100 meters. Every line after that is an additional 100 meters. So right now I'm aiming where his head is right there. That's about 100 meters, 150 meters. Where I place the text on the screen has nothing to do with the actual sightings. Just know that each line is 100 meters and it goes up to 500 meters. So, seeing how I'm aiming for 300 meters, I use the third line down and I start hitting my target. Now, as you may have guessed, accuracy with the ACOG is very easy to do. All the way up to about 400 meters. It's pretty easy to hit your target. Anywhere past that, it starts getting a little harder, but you can rest assured you're going to place your rounds really close to the target and most likely suppress them. So I give the M16A4 ACOG a 8 out of 10. The pros: it's very accurate, low recoil, high effective range, and it has an awesome ACOG sight. The cons: not fully auto and very, very limited for CQB. You know, the iron sights on the M16A2 maybe can get away using it for CQB. This thing, you do not want to scope in at all in CQB. Now the reason why this thing gets such a high rating is because anywhere from 100 meters on, this thing does its job really well. Even a little bit lower, maybe 50 meters, you can still use your ACOG sight. But for the most part, when firing M16, you want your accuracy and you want to be able to hit your target a good 200, 300 meters away, and this gun does it. So on to the M4 family. First up, M4A1. This, just like the M16, fires a 5.56, has semi and full opposed to semi and burst. It uses the same amount of rounds, same power, all that. Difference is recoils might be a little bit more higher now. So we hop right into it. You take a look at the sights here. Look just like the M16A2. Difference is this thing is full auto, and it definitely works for CQB. That's for sure. I hit 24 out of the 30 targets. That's an accuracy of 80%. So one of the important factors to bring up here when using this sight is that the M4A1 sights are a little bit thicker than the M16A2 sights. But I get 10 out of my 10 targets, looking good. So into the accuracy test, make mention, as I said before, the M16A2 sights are thinner, the M4A1 sights are thicker. I mean, you can see right down range, I can practically cover the whole 300 meter target with the sights. It makes it harder to hit my target, but I do get a 4 hits out of 5. I just also like to make mention that these sights are 0 for 300 meters. So that's why I aim kind of right in the center mass, and it tends to hit the target. With that said, let's move on to the gun score. Gun score, 7 out of 10. The pros to the M4A1 is consistent accuracy, it's full auto, and it has decent enough range. But the cons are the limited sights for CQB, just like the M16A2, and it has a thicker iron sights, which makes shooting targets downrange a lot harder. So really, what you're trading off here between the M16A2 and the M4A1 is accuracy, downrange for full auto up close. It's a pretty good trade-off, considering that you're going to be using this weapon for both 200-meter engagements and CQB. I'd say go with the M4A1 over the M16A2, just because it's a little bit more versatile. Not as good downrange, but it gets the job done. So next up, we're going to go with the M4A1 CCO, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do side by side with the M4A3 CCO. They're pretty much the same. Difference is one of them is camoed and one of them has lower recoil than the other. Now as you see here, the M4A3 CCO has lower recoil. M4A1 will be on the left, M4A3 will be on the right. As you can see here, the side by side view, both guns seem to be just about the same as far as accuracy and all that's concerned. We'll see more about the accuracy later on. For the most part, these do just about the same performance. So here's going to be more of the accuracy 150 meter test. This is my target reacquisition. Now I can get on target faster because the M4A3 recoil is actually lower. So I finish on the right hand side here before the M4A1 is finished. So right off the back here, my M4A1 shot misses, and part of the reason why it takes so long to get back on target is because of the bullet cam that's bouncing up into the air. It takes a second to come back. So don't pay attention to speed here, just pay attention to accuracy and the effectiveness. Both of them are just about on par, so can't really complain. So I'm going to do the gun scores separately here. Gun score for the M4A1 CCO is the 8 out of 10. Reason for that, good accuracy, full auto, good effective range, and it has a CCO sight for CQB, and that CCO sight can also be used for long range engagements. The only con I can think of really is that the recoil is a little bit higher than on the M4A3 CCO. So on to the M4A3 CCO, which pretty much is the M4A1 CCO, but just better, thus getting it a 9 out of 10. The biggest difference here is that it has low recoil compared to the moderate recoil on the M4A1 CCO. Okay, next gun up is the M4A1 Camo SD. This gun, just like the M4A1 CCO or the normal M4A1, has the same power, uses 5.56, all that, but as you may have noticed, the biggest difference here is the SD capability. So let's get right into testing here. So as you know, SD is badass because it's silent. So let's see how it does in the fire rate test. Now one of the most attractive things about using SD is that there's no muzzle flash, so it's easier to see your target while holding the trigger. I hit 28 out of the 30 targets. So when we're looking at the target reacquisition thing, I also want to take the time to mention that the 200 meter range is the max effective range. The reason for this, I mean, you're thinking it's an M4A1, man, why isn't this going 300? It's because it uses subsonic ammunition, which eliminates a sonic crack. That means it's SD, it's quieter in other words. But that's at the cost of subsonic ammunition, making the bullet velocity less, thus making it not reach its target when aiming on the sights, decreasing the effective range. So you probably guessed I'm going to miss a lot, because I'm trying to use the subsonic ammunition to hit a 300 meter target. It's really hard to do. I just have to keep eyeballing it until I finally get lucky, and in the end here, I do get 1 hit out of the 5. So here's a little bonus footage of me trying to test the zeroing of the SD weapon. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's zeroed out for 100 meters, because when I was shooting at the 150-meter target in the first test, it wasn't looking so hot. I was missing a lot. So 100 meters is your zeroing for this weapon. So onto the gun rating for it. We give it a 7 out of 10. The reason for this: it's full auto, it's accurate up to 100 meters. That's kind of like a con sort of thing, but it is accurate up to 100 meters. CCO sight for CQB, very good. It's silenced. You know, no one's gonna hear you shooting past about 50 meters or so, maybe even 20. So it's very good for both players and zombies. Zombies will never hear it. Players might hear it if they're close enough to you. Cons now: it has low effective range because of the subsonic ammunition. So with that said, it puts you at a major disadvantage to be running around with the SD when you're dealing with a target that's past 100 meters. If they're within 100 meters, yeah, the SD's awesome. They can't hear where you're shooting from. But most of the time your engagements are going to be a little bit further out when you're in the middle of a field, and to put yourself at a disadvantage where you can't even hit the target because you don't know where to aim, not looking good for you. That's why it's a 7 out of 10, even with the silence capability. Now on to one of my favorite assault weapons, the M4A1 Holo Sight M203. As far as all the same junk as everything else, big difference is holographic sight and M203 launcher. Let's get into the testing. So right off the back, we're going to look at the Holo Sights. Looks very good for CQB. It's a square, so it's very easy to see, kind of like a nice field of view. You know, you're not too messed up with the sides of the holographic sight. I hit 28 out of the 30 targets. So you see here, the dot of the Holo Sight is very good for engaging targets at 150 meters plus, because the dot's a lot smaller than the CCO dot. There's less signature, so you can see around it better. Thus, I go 10 out of 10 hits. Now one thing I forgot to mention was in the last test was the recoil is a little high. Not as good as the M4A3 CCO. In this test, I hit 5 out of 5 targets. So, as you notice, this thing has the M203. Now, I told you earlier that the M203 is pretty much a guessing game. You just get experience. You gotta get used to where to aim with this. That's pretty much all you can use. I don't know how to use the in-game crosshair to do it. I don't play on crosshair servers, so I just kind of guesstimate and I just assume what works. And you know, that's pretty much all you can do with the M203. Hope for the best, and experience will dictate how high to aim up. Half the time I don't even use the sights to aim it. Instead I just kind of hip fire the M203. So just whatever works for you. So onto the gun rating, I give it a 9 out of 10. The reason for this is full auto, accurate, holographic sight. It's a lot more open, you know, compared to say the AKs or the M16A2. It also has a small dot in the center of the crosshair that makes it very easy to see the target behind your dot, because the M4CCO dot is a lot more big and blocky, whereas this one's nice and clean and small. Not to mention, it has an M203 on it. The cons though, there is no M203 sight really. I mean, you can't really aim it down a sight of any kind. It has moderate recoil in comparison to the M4A3, and the holographic sight, considering it has like a nice little circle around the dot, in dark settings or, you know, late afternoons and the evenings, it can harm your aim because you can't really see behind the bright sight. That also applies to the M4 CCOs, but those are a dot, so you just, you know, put the dot on the guy and it's over. This one has that stupid little circle around it, so it does sometimes impair your vision in dark settings. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be making part 3s, which is special weapons, also known as battle rifles and whatever else you want to call them. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So remember to subscribe if you liked the video. You know, let your friends know if it helped you. Maybe it'll help them too. So yeah, take care, guys.